The Chennai Declaration talked about the in vitro aspect completely. I think there is, today, the antibiotic resistance at the hospitals and the operation theaters are far more graver consequence than what it is on the animal farm today. The Chennai Declaration was very specific to this issue. And we have said, I think the first thing first, we need to ensure that a freer, cleaner environment at the hospitals than what it is at the other centers. The second part of the Chennai Declaration is on the irrational dispensing of antibiotics. If you look at the total chemist shops across the country, you do not need a prescription today to usages of any antibiotics. So some of the declarations of Chennai talked about how these antibiotics needs to be, the guidelines for the dispensing of antibiotic needs to be done. So excellent point. I never wanted to, it's not that I ignored it. It was basically because of far more complex, but that was really the trigger between the antibiotic resistance to the humans, both ways, and the third vector related to that. To what is on the consumer perception on 4 market research trials done about the consumer perceptions in India. The 4 centers, we did it, one in North, just immediately after the CAC discussions on the antibiotic. The other one was in South, East, and the Western side. Each 4 regions had a different perceptions on the antibiotics. The one which was the closest fear on antibiotic usage was in the North. And this we linked into more in terms of awareness on what has happened by the between the Center for Science and Environment. But per se, the underlining factor which the market research revealed is the responsible use of antibiotic is essential. And the consumers were not at all frightened about the responsible use of antibiotic. And they said that's okay. When we get sick, we need to probably be using antibiotic. It is only the irrational or irresponsible use of antibiotic is where the scare is. I think this came out very clearly at the consumer market research. And then, of course, in the case of Japan, in the case of Thailand, in the case of others, they're different. And that is where, but underlining factor is the judicious, responsible use of antibiotics is what? Standing out. And this is where I think across what we have seen as one underlining common denominator related to the antibiotic scenario. And secondly, the retail chain, the food chain, the quick service restaurants, and all of them, in fact, there's a lot of companies, Tyson Foods, I do not want to name names. They're not saying that Tyson have their own antibiotic policies for the US and they have another antibiotic policies for the OUS. Okay. So they are different. And their own antibiotic policy says that it is depending upon the local managemental conditions to decide the usages of antibiotics and the farm across these levels. So I think there's so many discussions but I totally agree the awareness is increasing. And I think that will continue to increase.